Brownback, you want in on this. What do you have to say, sir?
I didn't hear your question, so I'm going to...
what do you have to say to what you've heard?
I think what we need to do now is look at the situation we have and now have a political surge taking place. This is Thomas Friedman's statement, but it is true. You've got the military that has made a number of progressive steps, particularly in the West, Al-Anbar province. They've made progress. But we don't have a political solution on the ground that works in Iraq. Iraq is less a country than it is three groups held together by exterior forces. It's the Kurds in the north, the Sunni in the west, the Shia in the south, and a mixed city in Baghdad. And yes, there are groups that are mixed around in that. I think we need to recognize that reality. We ought to now push for establishment of a Sunni state in the west. Still one country, but separate states. That's a political solution that you can take advantage of what the military has done on the ground.
Senator, let me ask you
to move forward now.
If you do that kind of loose federation, how do you keep the Kurds in the north from fighting with Turkey? How do you keep the Shia from allying with Iran? And how do you keep the Sunnis from rebelling over having no oil resources?
How do you do it now? I mean, I think you're going to need a long-term U.S. presence, particularly in the Kurdish region in the north and the Sunni region in the west, that you're going to have a long-term invited by those governments, and you're going to need it to assure the Turks that the Kurds aren't going to pull out, and to assure the Kurds that the Turks aren't going to come in. I think that's what you have to do in looking at the reality. And the next president needs to come in and know foreign policy and not learn it on the job. This is something we need to know going in. The world is flat. And I ought to know that. Being from Kansas, I understand flat.
Governor Huckabee, the latest national intelligence estimate, which is out recently, says that even if we continue the troop surge, and we're going to put it up on the screen, Iraq's security will continue to improve modestly during the next 6 to 12 months, but levels of insurgent and sectarian violence will remain high, and the Iraqi government will continue to struggle to achieve national-level political reconciliation and improve governance. Governor, if that's the best we can hope for, should we continue the surge?
We have to continue the surge. And let me explain why, Chris. When I was a little kid, if I went into a store with my mother, she had a simple rule for me. If I picked something off the shelf at the store and I broke it, I bought it. I learned, don't pick something off the shelf I can't afford to buy. Well, what we did in Iraq, we essentially broke it. It's our responsibility to do the best we can to try to fix it before we just turn away, because something is at stake. Senator McCain made a great point. And let me make this clear. If there's anybody on this stage that understands the word honor, I've got to say Senator McCain understands that word, because he has given his country a sacrifice the rest of us don't even comprehend. And on this issue, when he says we can't leave until we've left with honor, I 100% agree with him, because, Congressman, whether or not we should have gone to Iraq is a discussion that historians can have, but we're there. We bought it because we broke it. We've got a responsibility to the honor of this country and to the honor of every man and woman who has served in Iraq and ever served in our military, to not leave them with anything less than the honor that they deserve.
Go ahead. You wanted to respond? He just addressed you. You go ahead and respond.
The American people didn't go in. A few people advising this administration, a small number of people called the neoconservatives, hijacked our foreign policy. They're responsible, not the American people. They're not responsible. We shouldn't punish them.
Congressman, we are one nation. We can't be divided. We have to be one nation under God. That means if we make a mistake, we make it as a single country, the United States of America, not the divided States of America.
When we make a mistake, it is the obligation of the people through their representatives to correct the mistake, not to continue the mistake.
And that's what we do on the floor of the Senate?
No, we've dug a hole for ourselves, and we've dug a hole for our party. We're losing elections, and we're going down next year if we don't change it, and it has all to do with foreign policy, and we have to wake up to this fact.
Even if we lose elections, we should not lose our honor, and that is more important than the Republican Party.
We have lost We have lost over 5,000 Americans killed in We've lost over 5,000 Americans over there in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and plus the civilians killed. How many more do you want to lose? How long are you going to be there? How long? What do we have to pay to save face? That's all we're doing is saving face. It's time we came home.
Gentlemen, thank you. Wendell.
Congressman Hunter, you've been wanting to weigh in on this.
Hallelujah.
Senator Brownback says we need a long-term U.S. presence in Iraq. Congressman Paul says we need to bring the troops home now. Which is it?
Wendell, first, let's remember that we've got troops, those 157,000 folks in Iraq, lots of them in Afghanistan, are watching us tonight. And let me just tell you what they've done. In Anbar province, we were having 1,350 attacks a month last October. By the blood, sweat, and tears of the U.S. Marines out there, we pulled it down 80%. They've pulled down civilian casualties 74%. And I couldn't let this one go because the Democrats made an entire debate never complimenting what the troops have done. This is how we do it. We've got 129 battalions in the Iraqi